Hi, folks. This is Big Mike Zlatnik, and today's discussion is going to be all about where is the promised economic recession. And we're recording this in late July 2023. But before we dive into this discussion, the usual disclaimer. This is for informational, educational purposes only, no solicitation of advice of any kind. Before making any investment decisions, consult with your attorney and CPA professional. And if you're interested in any of the Temple, family of funds, and syndication products, request PPM to create investors only. Now, let's talk about where is the recession. We were promised recession second half of the year. It doesn't appear to be a recession. It doesn't appear to be on a horizon. Although there are some experts continue to believe that recession is coming. And I'm one of the folks in that camp, that it just appears that recession is inevitable. It's just a delayed part of this cycle. However, at this point of time, the economy seems to be cranking. Corporate earnings are strong. Stock market has bounced back, and it doesn't feel like a recession. One of the most important elements of recession, at least the way I think about this, is meaningful unemployment. But we are in the environment where unemployment is very, very low. It is almost impossible to have a recession with unemployment being so low. So low unemployment is blocking, in essence, the fight against inflation. So something important to keep in mind, that there is a Phillips curve concept. I've talked about this in the past, but it symbolizes the relationship between unemployment and inflation. And unemployment being this low makes it difficult for the inflation to come down to the target of 2 to 3% a year, the way Fed wants to see it. As a result, Fed is still hiking. And that is still something that may continue, although they are most likely at the peak of the cycle. We just don't know, is it another quarter or another 2 quarters, but they're getting close to the peak. On the economic recession front, in order to see a recession, we have to see more pain in the economy. The Fed action is supposed to be breaking the economy, and they are. They're certainly impacting certain sectors of the economy, especially sectors that are interest rate sensitive. Real estate is one of them. There's certainly some challenges in real estate deals that borrowed money with variable rate mortgages, debt, and these rates have gone up a lot, and they're creating a lot of pressure on some of those projects. There are plenty of other sectors of the economy, including technology, that is interest rate sensitive. So for companies that have a big installation footprint, large technology, or just industrial companies with large install base, higher interest rates are not as much of a problem from the point of view that they're able to pass price hikes, form of inflationary increases of in their goods and services costs. So the consumers that are earning, that are working, that are enjoying higher incomes and salaries are paying higher prices for goods and services, and that's your inflation. Wage inflation supports consumer price inflation. And as a result, we are observing strong corporate earnings season. We're observing good stock prices. However, the result of the Fed action takes time. So these hikes that they've executed over the last 18 months, some of them already felt and some are not yet felt. So the system is working from the point of view that economy is slowing down, but it is not, hasn't yet slowed down to the point where a technical recession is around the corner. So original projection for the economic recession, again, economic recession being 2 quarters of negative GDP, was originally thought to start at some point second half of this year. And it would appear, again, still speculative, we don't know how the rest of Q3 will run in Q4, but it is looking like that the recession will not start until some point 2024. Q4, there's a possibility of Q4 going negative GDP, although we don't know that yet. Q3 at this point is unlikely to be a negative GDP quarter. So technical recession is probably going to start at some point next year. Although in this environment with full employment, if the employment continues to be where it is right now, and the Fed action is just not going to break the economy hard enough, it's possible that this may look like soft landing, whatever it means, whatever is interpretation of the soft landing. Now, most of us would still like to see some kind of economic recession, maybe a mild recession, maybe a few quarters of negative GDP, give Fed some incentive to reverse the direction and move the rates to a lower point in time. The current interest rates, where the Fed has them now and where they're going, are just too high for the economy on a long-term basis, in my view. Although some folks think we're just normalizing, and we are normalizing, but we have overshot where we need to be. The general thesis is that the interest rates, the Fed funds rate, should be somewhere around with where the inflation is, or should be on a long-term basis. So they're overshooting the target to put more pressure on the inflation, to bring it down to the 2 to 3% range. Then at some point they'll start reversing the direction. When the inflation stabilizes in that target range, that's the time when Fed will start consider easing. They're not going to ease anytime soon. They're still hiking. And generally speaking, they typically keep interest rates at least at the peak for 6 to 12 months. So from that point of view, we're not yet anywhere close to the start of the interest rate cut cycle. So at this point, what's happening with real estate in general? What's happening is that the world is becoming accustomed to these high interest rates. For a while, we saw rapid changes. So when things change, it takes time to get used to these higher interest rates in the current 5 to 5.5% range on a Fed funds rate, and obviously matching many other corresponding rates. But the stable environment will create more transactions. As rates stabilize, most transactions, most buyers and sellers will come to understand this is the new reality. And sellers that need to sell will sell, and the buyers that need to buy will buy. At least more stability is coming to the markets, and it feels like second half of the year we're going to see a little bit more activity driven by more predictable, at that point, stabilized interest rates, at least in the short run. So again, where's the promised recession? It ain't here yet. Will it come? I do believe it will at some point in 2024. Meanwhile, we get to enjoy the summer in this little bit more stabilized economic environment. Obviously, the stock market has been good to us, but there are many forces in the economy underlying the risks, and things could start breaking. And in fact, that's the goal of the Fed. They want to see things breaking, although they're not yet breaking. So we shall see. Appreciate your time and attention. This was just a brief discussion on the subject, and hope you have a wonderful day.